Hey everyone, how's it going? I hope you're all doing great and following the 3H's of the channel. In this video, I have 4 stories for you. They're all a bit different, but they're all equally as disturbing and terrifying. So I hope you'll stick around for it. Pull up a stump with me and let's get into it. Thank you for watching. So I'll try to keep this short. This account was around 2006 in Yelm, Washington State. Me and my family were watching movies in the living room, as we usually did when I was young. Our TV was in front of a bunch of big windows that gave a great view of the tree line. That probably then extended another couple of miles from the house. Suddenly, around 10 p.m. in the pitch black of night, a large glowing orb appeared above the aforementioned tree line. I'm not real good with measurements, but it was absolutely massive considering how far away we were. The speed at which it rose was very slow. Needless to say, we all freaked out as it became more visible above the tree line. Myself, around 9, my brother, 11, my sister, 7, and my mom in her late 30s all saw it and began freaking out. We watched it for an indeterminate amount of time. My best guess is around 15 minutes. During those long 15 minutes, it just continued rising slowly and made it over the tree line eventually. It looked much like the sun, but much less intensive in its luminosity. It lit up the whole sky as we watched. We all completely lost it. We screamed and yelled. After a long while of observation, it shot straight up into the sky at an insane speed. It was all dark again in an instant. We drove into town after the experience just to see if everything was still as it was. There was nothing new to see. My mother realized how completely terrified we were and consoled us by telling us it was just probably a drug lab explosion or something. But as an adult, I ask her about it, and she admits that she has no idea what the hell it was and was just as afraid as we were. Everyone in my family remembers the situation. My sister refuses to talk about it due to her intense fear of aliens. Just writing this all down again gives me chills. I'm a 28-year-old man. I don't frequently tell this story very often, but ever since then, I love hearing about encounters, and I love a good scary story. I have what I would call a chilling tale from the North Woods. It was back in 2008. I was up in the Porkies. It was just after the first snow of the year had left a dusting that flocks everything in white. I break camp at 6 and start heading down the trail, hoping to make Lake of the Clouds by lunchtime. About an hour along, I start hearing a dull, rhythmic thudding in the distance. As I keep walking, the sound gets closer, more distinct. It becomes apparent that it's drumming. I decide to break off the trail to check it out, because it might be hippies and they might have pot. Tracking the sound, I realize that there's a sort of droning buzz that's accompanying it. I round a hill and come across a ravine. In the bottom of the ravine, there's what looks like a man sitting cross-legged, beating a drum with a hatchet and chanting in what sounds like Finnish. He's completely naked, except he's wearing what looks like an uprooted birch trunk over his head like a mask. He's smeared with blood. I have my .357 because black bears on my hip, so I draw it just to be safe. The man stops drumming and chanting. The tree trunk spins around on his shoulders toward me. There's a knothole that this huge eye stares at me through. My blood goes cold. I barely stammer out, "Howdy." The man springs to his feet and sprints at me, full tilt, brandishing the hatchet. I fall backwards and thumb the hammer, and I fire a shot off at him at 20 feet. I don't know if I hit him because he jumps into the air and runs off in the other direction. I watch him disappear over the other side of the ravine. before I remember that I'm not a stone. I hightail it back to the trail, running as fast as my legs will let me. I get to the trail and just keep running. After 5 minutes of a dead sprint, I stop to catch my breath. I'm doubled over, puking drool and gasping for breath, when I faintly hear soft footsteps quickly getting louder behind me. I turn around just in time to see a birch stump with a gruesome, bloodshot eye 6 inches from my face, and then blackness. I come to I don't know how much longer when some other hikers are shaking me awake. They found me on the side of the trail, passed out and bleeding from the head. One of them says it looks like you tripped and cracked your head on a rock. Don't move, you might have a concussion, buddy. I look around, dazed. All my gear is accounted for, except for my Colt Python. The park rangers are called, and I'm evac'd to the nearest hospital. I decide that it's best not to tell the doctors or rangers what happened, on account of my head wound. It would just make them write it off as brain damage, and I don't want them thinking that. I go home, I report my gun missing, and I decide to never hike the Porcupine Mountains ever again. So I want to talk about the time that I think I came literally 3 inches face to face with a demon or something like it. Anyways, I was 17 years old. I was living in West Virginia. I was walking my dog, Bosko, a Beagle German Shepherd mix, that evening. There was nobody around, which is strange because there are usually a few people around, even at this time of night. Bosko stops abruptly, looking kind of panicked and sniffing the air. I say out loud, "What's wrong, boy?" My eyes follow where he's looking. About 6 meters away from us, under a street lamp that seems to be glitching out, is what appears to be a big black dog with absurdly pointed ears. It's facing the opposite direction of us. I thought to myself, the poor guy's probably lost. Bosko, however, is still completely motionless. He's shivering slightly. His tail is raised way up. I whistle at the black dog to see if I could get the poor fella to come over. And then, its neck does a full 180 turn to look at us, just like an owl. And its face, it had a human face. Bosko takes a step forward and haunches his shoulders, lowers his head, and growls like a feral beast. The fur on the back of his neck is bristling. I'm completely frozen in fear. The thing then stands up, turns its body toward us without moving its head. And then the most insane and gross thing happens. These lumps are moving under its skin, while its eyes are still locked to mine. And then, this thing, with no muscle mass, splits through the dog's back like a cicada. I look away for maybe a split second to try and scream for help. Apparently, I was so scared that I couldn't even manage that. In the split second, I looked away. This anorexic-looking humanoid thing that burst out of this dog, or whatever it was literally 3 inches from my face. I don't know how it got there so quickly, but it had even escaped Bosko, who was staring at it the entire time. I actually literally lost control of my bladder. This thing's eyes were pushed way back in its skull, and its jaw looked like that it could expand to at least 3 times the size it already was. It stared me down for a good few seconds before it let out this ear-piercing pig scream. Bosko had bitten down on its leg and apparently crushed its shin with his teeth. It fell onto its back and squirmed around like a maggot, trying to get Bosko off of its leg. And then something even more terrifying happens. The leg just falls off on its own, and this thing gallops away on all 4s or all 3s, whatever, into the surrounding woodland. Apparently 3 different people called the police because they thought violent crimes were going on the street. And that is how I came face to face with a demon, and how my dog saved me. Way back when I was 16 or so, me and my family had just moved to a small rural town in Washington state. This was a huge culture shock from San Francisco, where I grew up. Most of the people here were rednecks. Most of them drove gas guzzler trucks instead of small cars. Despite these differences, I did make a few friends, and a few really cute girls. And some of the guys became really great friends too. We all decided to go camping, pretty far in the woods. There's this lake and a trail that we go a few days ahead of time to scout out our location, a little ways off of the main trail. It involves a little bit of hiking, but not enough so that you're super tired by the time you get there. The camping spot that looked like it would be perfect for us was behind a barbed wire fence that said no trespassing, but being really stupid teenagers, we thought that we were indestructible, that we were above the law, and that nothing was going to happen to us. So we all gather some food in a disposable cooler. We buy our drinks and drugs and bring sheets to lay on and wood for the fire, normal camping stuff for the middle of the summer. The day of, we wait until just after dark, go pick up the girls, and then get on our way. We get there and set up our stuff, and everyone seems to be having a great time. The fire's going. A few people are smoking and having some drinks. I decide to stay sober because I drove us all out here, and I want to be able to drive us all the way back at the ass crack of dawn. There's a really cute girl who starts getting a little paranoid. 1, because it was a no trespassing area, and 2, it was a no burn night, and she was saying that we shouldn't be having a fire. She complains about it enough that we eventually let the fire die down and stop adding to it. The fire gets real low, and it's pitch dark, and randomly, everyone gets quiet. The music on the speaker stops. It's the end of the song, and the end of the playlist. Everyone's quiet, and then someone says that we should keep talking because the paranoid no-burn girl is probably going to flip for some other reason. The weird kid of the group says that he needs to use the bathroom, so he just walks off into the trees to go take a pee. So fast forward, and he hasn't come back. We're thinking that maybe the food made his stomach upset, so we just let him be. But then, before we know, it's been 3 hours, and we still haven't seen him. I'm completely sober at this time, just a reminder. The girl stops talking again. She's staring off behind me. Another girl starts whispering about how she also saw the bushes move. I'm thinking that the 2 girls are just paranoid because they've been smoking, but she swears to God that she saw something in the bushes, and then another one chimes in and says that she saw some dark thing standing on the rock behind me, just standing there, staring. Another guy was like, maybe we should just get out of here. The other guys in the group agree, saying that they don't feel like staying the night, especially if everybody's going to be paranoid, and especially if there's something out there. We pack up almost everything. We leave the sheets and just grab a cooler of beer and leftover hot dogs. One of the girls is crying by now. She says that she swears that she saw something and that she just wants to go home. Someone else says, "Where's Travis? He never came back yet." And this is a moment where I did something regrettable. I decided to leave anyways. So we start hiking back to the trail. Nobody can see anything, but we all came to the conclusion to not use flashlights because we're all starting to think that there is something out there, and that whatever it was could follow us if we used flashlights. We let our eyes adjust, and as we're hiking, the girl who was always paranoid is sobbing and blowing her nose on the sleeve of my sweater by now. We make it back to the trail, and I stay behind to do a head count as everyone passes. Everyone's here, but that Travis guy. I really should have waited for him, or went back to look for him, but I didn't. And then I heard something. Bushes rustling behind me. I tell every drunk kid in the group to hurry their asses up, that the car is in sight. I still have the urge to not look behind me, scared of what I might see. One of the girls looks behind me and starts wailing, but she stops long enough to point out a disgusting smell. And for some reason it takes me a few seconds to really realize what she's talking about, but then I do smell it, and I wonder how I didn't before. It smelled awful, like rotting meat. If there was anything like this, especially like a dead animal, we probably would have known. Me and the friends and the whole group scouted the place out before we even came here for the night. Some folks are close enough to the car, and they start loading up. I'm still on the trail. The trail is a sort of paved type of biking trail. I can make out the sound of bare feet behind me. It reminds me of when you get out of the pool and you kind of waddle over to your towel across the concrete. The feet sounded wet. I come to terms with the fact that the paranoid girl wasn't just paranoid. There is literally something behind me. I run to the car and I pile all the kids in, -1, Travis. I get in the driver's seat, lock the doors, and turn on the headlights. Briefly, for a few seconds, I can make out a white blob of a thing. It had long arms that were bended up toward its chest, receding on the trail that we just left. It's at this point I realize the reality of everything and think, oh shit, we could have died. Everyone is just quiet. The girl that I brought is just sniffling. That thing looks almost human, but not. It's hunched over. It's naked, and all of its limbs are too long. Its head is too long. I automatically think about all those crazy stories that I have been reading on the internet. Those ones that I always thought were a whole bunch of bullshit and didn't have even a sliver of truth to them. But here it is, right in front of me. As soon as I realize this, I speed out of there, with 6 underage drunk kids in the back seat. We end up crashing at a girl's place closer to town, really far away from that spot. I didn't sleep at all. I stayed up all night comparing my experience to everyone else that was there. 2 days later, a friend calls me up and asks me if I heard from Travis. I said no, and even still, at that point, as bad as it sounds, I didn't really care. This friend says that we need to go check out the campsite and see if he's there or not, because they haven't heard from him either. I get sudden chills. They convince me to go. We go in the middle of the day. There's hikers and bikers all over the trails, so we're safe in case we see anything or anything happens. We get to our campsite. Things are messy because we left in a rush. The white sheet I brought is bunched up in the corner near a pile of wood. We didn't do that. My friend starts poking around, searching the area that Travis went to piss. I open up the sheet, and one corner of it is covered in blood, kinda smeared, like someone wiped their mouth or their hands off or something. I'm freaked out. I drop the sheet and shout at my friend. I tell him that I suddenly don't feel well and we have to leave. Walking back on the trail, we pass a few bikers. We still smell that awful smell. It's following us. We ran back to the car, and I have never been back, but others have been. And yes, Travis did make it out. I heard from a friend who has a cousin who's friends with Travis. Travis was absolutely pissed that we left him out there that night, but also said something weird happened to him. When he went out to use the bathroom, he kept hearing someone walking around him. He thought that it was one of us, so he walked further into the woods. And then, in the middle of using the bathroom, he said that something hit him. He came to in the middle of the night. He was 2 miles away, in the dark. Somehow, he got very lucky and managed to find his way back to the trail. From there, he wandered around through the woods all night, before just around daybreak finding our camp. He stayed there until two cyclists found him very early in the morning. They said he was disoriented, very dehydrated, and had a mild concussion. He has no idea about anything that we saw in the forest, and he didn't want to talk to any of us ever again, so he switched schools to a charter school and graduated there. I don't know what the hell we saw in the woods that night. I don't know what it was that hit Travis, but I do feel bad about it all. I hope you enjoyed those encounters, and as always, if any of them stuck out to you in particular, let me know which one it was down in the comments. Do you have one of your own? As always, I have an email in the description, as long with a PayPal and a Patreon if you would like to support the channel that way. And here on YouTube, there's super thanks and memberships. And with all of that, I hope you enjoyed the videos this week, and I hope you'll stick around for next week too. If you haven't already, feel free to like and subscribe, comment on the video, share the video, like the video, and all that stuff that's free. And I'll see you in the next one. Thank you for pulling up a stump with me. Thank you for watching. And yeah, I'll catch you later.